520. Let the tide continue on the sea skim, let the ship sail for its lands. Dances, games, and swagger of hearts to the upper sky, let them gush. Until the board lets go, pour out all that in the warm soul must spill. To fall overboard the world, to the heaven of love. 521. Only with love can the world be conquered. This was known by the most interesting philosopher of this planet, Jesus. So love. I'll love and do what you want, with this love. 522. I light fires so that a great fire is created, so that it consumes sweetly and passionately a heart unrestrained from longing. 523. True mysticism is not a scientific or systemic scenario. True mysticism, and yes, it is very verbal, tangible, but it thrills with enchantment, artistic creativity, passion of the soul, unconditional adventure of love of the heart. Such is this true mysticism and our eternal fabulous goal. 524. Faith is ignorance of matter, and matter does not believe in spirit, although it is directly deposited on it. Intricate. But as one thoroughly analyzes it, it can become an interesting topic for pondering the mysteries of being and the openness of existence. 525. Each of us carries a different diamond in the soul, and this is the most beautiful thing. Sighing so that we can please and adore each other, kneel before each other. In heaven, this is the perfect system. 526. Life is as simple as splitting an atom, and we split atoms every moment by thinking. Atom and photon are beyond the reach of the soul. The electrical elements have no effect on her life. However, if she wished, under certain conditions and agreements with thinking, she can physically split everything, achieve levitation, move mountains, become bilocational in this world of chemistry and physics. All this is true, but without cordiality, love, and tolerance, this cannot be achieved. Everywhere where love is weak, the mechanical electrical system prevails. On the other hand, if we endow it with a non-physical force, that is, a heart of love from the soul, it becomes airy like a summer dress. Little. Then also physics transforms its point of thinking and moves towards love, in order to hurt as little as possible with its resistance. 527. You can say that you have achieved something great when you love without complaining what is impossible to love. Then you won't push anything away without reason, and you will still tell your greatest love that you are no longer living your life, but are love. You will reach the peak of delight. This is purity over the purities, belovedness over the belovednesses, achievable practically in heaven. The cosmos is not conducive to such love, but it is necessary, must strive constantly, then we grow. 528. Spirit is the best lover, the lover of all those lost in love. There is no greater sweetness in the world than this, if one gives away his sweetness for his friends. 529. A person using confidence in himself, in the divine spark within himself, should not fear anything. The soul has a striving for itself, even if we don't know it. After all, the soul inner and outer consciousness is the best protector for man. It always takes care of him, and a little selfishness is needed too, in order to strive and have the benefits of happiness and pleasure. Whoever approaches his soul more consciously will always receive help from her. The soul is not eager to confirm us in mere mistakes and misfortunes. That's why it sometimes stands across various cravings, not that it doesn't like it itself, but so that it can reveal itself more quickly in this world as beautiful, non-hurtful love. 530. We should know that material prosperity can strongly accustom us to a material conception of the world. At some point, the object of material satisfaction will overshadow our nobility and sensitivity to others. And asked later, what do we live for? We will not be able to answer it clearly. The soul and its needs should always be kept in mind. The soul has temporarily been pushed into an uncomfortable corset of the body, and this is something to be reconciled with somehow. With this knowledge that the soul comes first, wealth will no longer harm anyone. Prosperity is due from the divine key to everyone, but the fullness of it is associated more with the heavenly world than with earth. There will always be many problems in the cosmos, because here different civilizations rule, not always with the welfare of others in mind. Well, and in addition, they do not recognize God. They fight him by various means, such as by creating various opposing religions, materialistic ideas, pessimistic beliefs, promoting the idol of money and technology, buying everyone as they go, young and old, healthy and sick, for their earthly purposes. 531. I realize that I am as stupid as I am wise. I do not understand the senses of my body and the unity of them with my soul. I often experience a schizophrenia of memory with the reality of reality, especially in parochial mental celibacy. Sometimes it takes a touch for love to blush and refresh the soul, for the soul to feast at a table of exquisite dishes. Only by feasting one comes to know the true happy life. Jesus compared heaven to a wedding feast. 532. Do not repay me, love my nothing. I would rather die for you than think of myself. Suffering is the only thing that keeps me in the balance, but it is not my goal and I don't have to suffer intentionally here. Easy to say. 533. To stabilize ourselves in the maze of chemistry and physics of our body and our psyche, sometimes it is worthwhile to say a Hail Mary, full of grace, and understand why the divine visitor from heaven, Gabriel, said such a very sweet greeting to Mary. 534. The more spontaneous selfishness is revealed in us, the better. That is, something bad radiates from us, and what remains is a pure mirror of love. 535. Solitude is the highest, royal road on earth to the pleasures of heaven. It is about solitude of mind. With this solitude you can have unlimited contact with all the angels on earth and in heaven. Extraordinary solitude. Wedding solitude. Solitude individual, together, unity. Solitude gives mystical community. 536. Seeking an illusory democracy or escaping into the tyranny of dictatorship is not a recipe for life. The crux of things is situated within us, in the warm soul. 537. You are currently delighting because you knew how to curse life at some point. Otherwise, you wouldn't be delighted. You understood something important about him. 538. You caught the thought. You can't express it, because it seems to be inexpressible. But, however, you write it down with reluctance. You write down, however, what leaks through you, because you think that by not writing it down, you will lose something important. 539. The word is my inquisition and liberation at the same time. It has the power of good and evil. This is how it is for now. I hope that in the future only the power of good will remain. One must be careful how one speaks, for once a word is spoken, it will not return to you. Padre Pio's words. 540. How to pray here. Since the speech is gone, and the head is empty, and today I do not pray. I'm going to the monkeys in the tree to hug them. 541. You aspire to the depths, and you're in the shallows. That's how it is. How much longer? Colors of freedom. The obvious thing, don't stay silent like a broken unit of authority. More and more revitalizing awareness is needed, and you are still silent like a dead rule. I wish you strength. Don't stay outside. Secure yourself with a balance of analysis between warp and weft, higher above personality, actions above affiliation. In conscious value and basic goodness, you must secure yourself. You know that the state of dissipation has not been tributed. Love is the anatomy of your freedom. 542. How it hurts painfully when I miss you, and your royal love, the only one, is yet to arrive from the faraway land. I live a life that is not my own, hidden, a secret. For you, beloved, has spark, igniting the senses of my soul, dried up from waiting. 543. Love is above all humble and patient. From spiritual values, that is, also from culture, grows the path of perfection. But who wants to perfect themselves nowadays, when not too much is pursued with the basic truth about the purpose and meaning of perfection? Who contemplates the annihilation of selfishness, evil thoughts within themselves, attachments that breed hatred and bitterness, emotions that destroy health, dishonest desires that dry up compassion? Perfecting oneself is easy. It becomes difficult when we do not undertake such thoughts. Pushing away ideals is frustrating because one rejects own enjoyment of ideals. Even just thinking about the ideals of love brings great joy to the soul. Ideals are not as bad as they seem. They invite everyone to their feast. 544. Catch heart to heart. There is no other path to eternity. The others lead through paths full of thorns and occupations. Give your heart, and you will receive a volcano of grateful delight. 545. If you are looking for the meaning of life, you have to go all the way in all directions at once, like a light. 546. You know a lot, but you still can't be fully happy. Because the program time must first accomplish its destiny. Break down the elements of your physical body armor to bring out the original luminous body from an inside. After that, it's another reality, much more interesting and attractive than in human days. Death is nothing to worry about. It's just falling asleep and waking up immediately, virtually painless. 547. Each era, each civilization must come to its own conclusions and its own spirituality. You can't pour young wine into old beakers because they will crack. The past is behind us, and those who ate their teeth on philosophy there have passed away. We must eat our own. But we should chew reality in such a way that the teeth of creative emotion are not eaten to the very jaw. Let's build such a bridge of integration, of common thought, that will last longer than 1,000,000 light years. Let's show the past that we can afford a better eye of exploration. 548. How beautiful it is, how you first do not know something in the sphere of spirit life, and then find out from the perspective of the hidden secret, for your benefit and flourishing. Wonderful. And how interesting, that it makes you want to lose your mind. 549. Soul, be good to others and impose yourself with this goodness. Let it annoy them sometimes. Kindness in any case is an example and admiration. You will see that they will appreciate it later tonight, or at the latest after your death. There will be noble memories. You will certainly remain Miss Good Heart for eternity. 550. To be in heaven you need to have love, culture, not total criticism in which you humiliate others. 551. Anyone can arrive by logic, feeling, intuition, at what the great philosopher Jesus arrived at. There is no problem. Anyone can arrive at it with their own reason and their own spirituality. It took Jesus 20-odd years to do it. 552. Talk about God without talking about God, then you will give the most God. But this is not always the case. Often the opposite is true. In time and not in time in any way, it is worth mentioning God. 553. The consciousness of today's society is very consumption-oriented, which is not so bad, but however it seeks too much for purely material benefits. Does it pay off or not? This is the modern calculation. And if I have a lot, it wants even more, even against justice. Of course, material shortages often force such thinking. On the other hand, it testifies to how little we are sensitive to spiritual values. The deepest reflections on our soul, our mind, have disappeared somewhat. The human mind does not wonder where it is going, where it came from in the first place, what it has to do to be truly happy. Almost no one today is completely unfamiliar with the terminology. Humility, submission, faith, hope, love, patience, still in practical terms. And they essentially create a non-denominational civilization, a civilization of divine love, a civilization of peace and tranquility, a dignified life, characterized by beauty and nobility of attitudes. 554. A spiritually free man can do anything, listen to music, run, shop, etc. Nothing can harm him. He doesn't have to think intensely about anything, but with his light spontaneity, he embraces everything in a wonderful way, like the world through his eyes. He treats life like walking on a river. The river flows, and he wades calmly along it. He walks in shallow water, and sometimes he will swim out to the depths. The weight of spiritual knowledge is so light that sometimes he can in turn fly like an eagle across the heavens. That's why you can meet internally perfected people in stores, at markets, in TV studios. Everywhere. They do not shy away from anything. They smile at everyone and look with a kind eye even at the unkind. This is direct spirituality, God's spirituality. 555. War begins in thoughts, beliefs, ideological pap. When we are above beliefs, with the true God, then peace follows. 556. All religions are bad, but Judaism and Islam are the worst. Faith is not regulations and not religion. Jesus didn't establish a religion or build temples. He was the greatest of the greatest on earth. 557. When something doesn't fit in someone's head, it is probably only at this stage that it doesn't fit. Then he is generally dissatisfied or disgusted, outraged by the outlook and experience of others. The best thing to do in such a stuck situation is to open the mind, and everything will fit in. The mind is not a computer, which primarily does not think but only recalculates. It has an artificial, and in addition a meager memory resource. Artificial intelligence is never and will never be a living intelligence like we have, or animals. Artificial intelligence means the same thing as making a hammer or a scythe. The same level. Any hammer in hand, such intelligence with its algorithms can destroy it in an instant. Human memory is linked to consciousness, that is, to the soul. It is not limited in anything, and no one is able to stop it. Probably only the creator of our soul. But because of the freedom he gave it, it does not do so. Fact, only the body limits this memory. Theoretically, we can do everything, and so we have unlimitedness within us. The very statement theoretically we can is already a great power, a manifestation of immense intelligence and transcendence. In other words, all the most wonderful fairy tales are real, in the world to which theoretically and practically in the body, through hope, faith, we go. 558. We all know that love is universal for everyone. Everyone knows how to love, and knows what is earthly or higher love, spiritual, fabulous and eternal. Everyone also has a hope for the better, hence comes a private, independent of religion, a belief in eternity. Love knows no boundaries, it is even boundless. Whoever loves, it is not the qualities and views that are important to him, but the power of love, its essence. Therefore, I believe, for the safety and peace of mind of all, it is best that atheism, secularism, but also religions are not promoted anywhere. These realms are very extreme, enslaving, and incalculable. Spirituality should be non-denominational. Just as it is universal love, Jesus preached such, but the meaning of it has been changed. In heaven, there are no religious structures or temples. On the other hand, everyone has their palaces there, which are invariably waiting for us all the time. 559. Love is good for everyone equally. Jealousy, possessiveness, and humanly accustomed enjoyment of it always spoil its wonderful divine non-celebrity. Interestingly, love itself is a spiritual feeling, extracted from the very intelligent nature of consciousness. Those who understand this are already faithless, devoted only to God. But this, in general, is still rather a long way off. Puzzling. Jesus, knowing this knowledge, did not establish any religion and did not build a single church. He said with conviction, "The kingdom of heaven is within you. Do you not know that you are the temple?" He was right. I think he was very intelligent and insightful. Well, and then there's his famous philosophical and loving phrase, "Love your neighbor as yourself." It gives a lot to think about the systems and orders in this world. These are the words, your life-giving word like water in the desert. I await it like the coming of sun into the world, wherever you are missing. I stroke the deaf time, I will not be frightened by the silence of the earth. I promise the mountains wings, but let the sunny dawn come already. The coveted flower of happiness. Your singing is bumping against the soft walls of my heart. It is spreading in the chamber of my feelings. So sing the words of love, for here is your home and here is your eternal youth. Here is the temple of bottomless joy. Here speak the gardens. Speak because love is rest. 560. The angels who left heaven and created universes as alternative heavens eventually ran out of power. Because of this, everything in the cosmos has to eat itself, swapping one energy for another. Suns go out, turn into dwarfs and dust. New suns and planets are created from space dust. Disease, death, bacteria, vapors, electromagnetic waves, the periodic table, etc. The atom, as the basis of death, lasts a very long time untouched, even though twisted from the beginning. And so on and on it goes in the cosmos. Complete transformation and replacement. When is the end? Probably not tomorrow, and not the day after tomorrow. But there will be an end when we reach the eternal atoms of God after death. Some may already have them now. Like Padre Pio, for example, when he had them. The end of the world, for a long, long time to come, will not be. Padre Pio's words. 561. All in all, we should conclude, what do I care about some cosmos and civilizations in it? Here and now is what matters. I will say something verses. Here and now and all pendulums is the most adulterated Jewish business, tax, usury idea. I deciphered it thanks to Padre Pio. Here and now, in fact, empirical meditation resting in the center of ego and self-love has nothing to do with spirituality. Jesus pointed this out to them, and from then on he was persecuted by Jewish, vindictive and greedy priests, modeled on the idiots, the pharaohs. And the pharaohs on the Sumerians, etc. Recently, the greatest expert on spirit and matter was Padre Pio, not even Sai Baba. Although he had more freedom than Padre Pio, living in a doctrinal monastery of the Capuchins. 562. I can say that under the influence of cosmic persecution in various ways, including instilling in me manipulated genetics, I've had enough of it, and I say, no. They threw me out as a rebel to the lower planets, this time to Earth. 1. Look for another heaven. You are not with us, then you are against us. And I just want true love in the world of ideals. And I hope to reach them. This cosmos is not for me. I appreciate the colors and shapes, but it's better to reach for something even more beautiful, eternal. I like the knowledge of Jesus, who said, I am not of this world. I can only add that Jesus belongs to those angels who never left heaven for their own careers. Unlike us, the angels of this universe, so the way we should recognize from where and where we should go. Jesus showed it, risking his life in doing so. 563. This applies to all earthlings. It's about just making sure they understand where they came from on earth. 564. Some angels sparked irresponsible love in their souls and left God. In a sense, they were thrown out of their beautiful paradises in heaven. We have already understood what this game is all about. Suffering is the price of freedom. Could God have done otherwise? No. He is too wise and too noble to command us to do something and set us up. We decided on our own to leave the original heaven. The consequences of this, at least this understanding, that we are not God. After we left and created the material universe, the incomplete heaven, we eventually found naturally that there was, however, a lack of energy supply for life. And because of this, a pathology of selfless love ensued. The cosmos will still and forever suffer for this very reason. Salvation lies in leaving this cause of the universe. Didn't Jesus talk about this? He did speak, and often. 565. We escaped as earthlings, through our noble deeds and thoughts, as far as possible from the troublemakers, i.e. from the cosmic scientific perverts and fanatical genetic brush artists. But not yet everyone understands this positively. And this counts as a virtue for us and approval flowing from God. A little more, and we will see heaven as a reward for this effort. It's worth thinking like this. Jesus was just like that. 566. Conditions are not very good on earth, but for that we have cool music and Jesus, who said a lot about love. 567. We can continue to move towards spiritual light, not sunlight, beyond physical death. Earthlings have a lot of good to their credit. They rebelled against injustice on various planets and the fatal nature of things. Like the Warsaw insurgents against the Germans. We found ourselves here, but some have a hard time remembering who they are. They need time. 568. Our planet, like others in the galaxies, is under control. They are trying to squeeze all the juices out of it for themselves. Let us love and be good and tolerant, and we will overcome everything. And we will say after Jesus, we are not of this world. 569. Are you familiar with Saint Francis of Assisi, and especially his end of life? If not, then read a little about him. you will then see that without love no matters. 570. The state of patience is not only a matter of controlling nerves. It is about the implicit knowledge that comes from knowing the situation in which one finds oneself. In a cosmic and spiritual sense, there are times when own life is lacking in order to comprehend it. 571. Each of us should care about high amplitudes of love, because this way we will avoid irritations and unnecessary problems. The youth of the whole world are waiting for such education. They need it. So far, there is too much prejudice against spiritual knowledge and the way it approaches everyday life. And yet it does not need a special education and aptitude to initiate such a work. This is where encouraging goodness and tolerance is supposed to work first and foremost. Our concentration is to consist primarily not in scientific knowledge, but in the spirit of cordiality and its daily practice. It is to consist in good deeds, in showing how to do them. Love in everyone's heart will do the rest. So it has to be a certain way, and then it has to be a habit, a system without philosophical discrepancies. In fact, no philosophy, but a system of values based on love, faith, and hope is the essence. Using the qualities of love, its teachings for social purposes, is a guarantee that problems, even the most difficult ones, will be solved successfully. There is no way to complete success than through spiritual, eternal, absolute values, expressed in love for neighbor and transcendence. Our only debt to others should be love. Guided by it, every law gives way without causing tyranny in society. 572. The soul knows no rest. It exists as an eternal potential for happiness. It constantly looks anywhere that gives it satisfaction and adventure, that gives it delight and peace. It pulls us always to where there is a feeling of beauty and harmony. 573. The soul has fullness. It is filled to the brim with all possibilities and desires. Adoration and delight fill it. Its game is to react, to admire, to delight. 574. The evil that the soul experiences will one day radiate out, turn into good, and the feeling of it will end. What will remain is joy. But in this kolkhoz cosmos, rather impossible. 575. The soul is similar to the sun. It emits power and light from itself. It does not draw it from outside. The soul does this in the most perfect way. Your soul is a sun that gives and does nothing else. When it takes, it only pretends, enchants. The soul does not have to take anything, and is not used to taking, because it has eternal attributes for the constant charming presentation of the magic of love. The human body suppresses this feeling due to various material needs. The human body is not the sun, it is only the soul. The body needs to take, and the soul conversely needs to give. In the soul lies our power of eternal pleasures. But soul has its original heavenly body, which is no different from itself. The human body is the work of genetic engineering by angels who got the original heaven mixed up with their own heaven, resulting in a failed fusion of the material world, including our weak body, but it's a long story. 576. Our salvation lies in finding the true covering of the soul, that is, the heavenly body. When it wears it back, everything will be pacified and suffering will disappear. In a while, everything will be fixed and we will easily return to our true chamber of life. This generally happens after very many lifetimes. 577. Breaking free from the compromised lords of the galaxies is not so easy. They still manipulate souls. They even control death and birth. Jesus, when he spoke about who rules the world, he was right. It is ruled by a powerful ancient intelligence, but divested of love and compassion. Civilizations have it that way. We must love each other, then we will defeat them. Salvation is love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Isn't this a brilliant statement? No scientist, no philosopher has come up with it. And let's do everything so that these powerful intelligences also start to love, because they are also children of God, who is waiting for them as well. These fallen souls wanted to make their world outside heaven, but it didn't work out. We can see for ourselves what is happening. Too much harm and suffering, resentment. After thinking about it, you have to go back to heaven. There is no way out. We too are fallen angels, for the time being an animal skin on a coal-caused planet, Padre Pio's words. 578. Galaxies will one day disappear. For at all their vibrational levels, there is contraction and decay, death. The fact that new stars arise from nebulae, new civilizations here and there, that the cosmos has been found to expand and then shrink, it doesn't matter. Inhale and exhale, it is not strange. The number of souls in the galaxies does not change. It is the same. Some angels came out of heaven, and they are working scientifically on how to keep the universe alive, using body cloning and reincarnation in the process. Completely unnecessarily. They know exactly that they have failed, but they lack the humility to admit it. It's just like with our scientists. They can't admit that their theories are straw. Even Newton's laws of physics are already undermined. Satan knows he is a loser, but he does not forgive. Padre Pio's words. 579. Ignorance of the origins of races and civilizations in space is still unavailable. Scientists, angels, rulers of many worlds do not allow this knowledge. But we are slowly crossing their energy and chemical barriers. And we are learning what the problem is. All molecules of matter are messed up on purpose so that we can never pursue true happiness and contentment. Because that would mean no work for the usurpers. The light of the suns is broken, the energy of the body is limited. Chemical compounds exhaust their reactions immediately. They need fuel. The body gets tired, the planets barely breathe. Perpetuum mobile, impossible. Nature cries and longs for liberation. A lot of it. But head on, it's getting better with us. 580. When I turned 20, I met the face of my guardian angel. She is a blonde in heaven, always smiling, perfect for my soul. And Padre Pio told me that he sees her every day in a different dress, that we have wonderful palaces there. I spoke to her many times through Padre Pio in Nawahuta. The conversations I will not reveal. A few sentences only, she told me. I know it's bad for you with me, because you don't see me now, but for me with you it's very good. We have been going together since the beginning. I asked to be able to see her in this life, but she denied that she did not. However, it seems to me that I seduced her, and she still agreed on this conversation through Padre Pio. Agreed, you will see me at your death. At least that's it. One can go crazy and mad. But what to do? I have my own to do, with the help of others. The revolution that they from above and below have prepared is yet to come. And a request, let everyone feel identical to me, because it is a common work and common angels, common God. 581. Aliens or angels, what once came out of their palaces of eternal happiness? They necessarily want to have their heaven in the galaxies, at any cost. Well, and take advantage of the many inferior races already degraded for their conveniences. We know this scenario from inept and spiritually limited human leaders. They only dream of wealth, power, inflexibility, arresting the opposition. We are already that opposition arrested in human bodies with limited consciousness. They have cornered us in almost every way. But this will not succeed for them in the long run. Everything will disappear. The system will collapse. Because it will be impossible to live in it forever, i.e. enjoy, in peace and comfort, to live in it. And God will come at the end with a broom and clean up the galactic dust after his children. He will turn the energy of the universes into divine power and redirect it to heaven, from where it originally came out through the freedom of the angels. You can live 1 billion years or more in space, but you will still die, despite modern body clones. This is a road to nowhere. Eternity is guaranteed only by God. So it's time to pack your bags in the direction, the heavenly universes, full of fresh beauty and endless adventures of love, not like the material galaxies. 582. In fact, the knowledge for man is latent, covered up by science, the intelligence of higher civilizations, who have possession of our planet. The earth is not anyone's, someone specific owns it. Certainly non-humanity and not God, we merely lease it. Whoever is able to escape this power, we then call him saved. 583. Gender is drawn to sex. That's because souls are gendered, colored by feminine and masculine aspects, without qualities. a forever without procreation. Childbearing occurs only in the rejected or material worlds, but souls remain sexual in a higher way. Not only that, all beings in heaven have heavenly bodies. So do souls on earth, but they are volatile, changeable like fashion, and dress in beautiful clothes, just like on earth. There is something of heaven on earth, Padre Pio's words. After all, the cosmos was created through memory and patterns coming from heaven. Everything in the likeness, but not very successful. I once asked Padre Pio if there was gender in heaven. He answered yes. This explained to me my anguish of soul. Ray of light artificial field in the negative results has attracted the attention of the magnetic division and played in the return to the nest with other senses. The pole directed the side, and knowledge sprouts grew into sunspots of diminished intensity, triggering the inhibition of the seasonal knowledge root process. Orientation of secretion in the variable reactions applied a multi-year cycle, of which tombstones of consciousness made the assumption of the participation of complex activities, and became the value of the price of search for the remains of former light 584. Love does not violate the privileges that it has brought forth of itself. Love is a feeling, a thought, a sensation, a delight, discovering as much love as possible in oneself and in the world, no matter what one is currently in. She on earth mainly focuses on the curriculum of goodness, honesty, and hope, from which comes the outstanding ability to experience happiness. It would be difficult to ever talk about love if it were not the engine of enthusiasm, faith, happiness, and even the adventure of learning. For science is only an adventure. It facilitates but also complicates due to its lack of the gift of complete knowledge. Love is the introduction of a sense of unity into the mind, the permanence of happiness, the consolidation of the private good and the general, cosmic and otherworldly good. 585. Love is everything that is best and most delightful for us. It is even said that God is love itself. We are unlikely to consider him an infirmity. On the contrary, everyone sees in him the very ideals. No one attributes evil to him. And if there is evil in the world, then who generated this evil? Love. Impossible. So who designed the cosmic maelstrom, the bursting or colliding stars, the shaking planets? And on top of that, a digestive system that forces us to kill others. Does love do that? It was not love who designed this world, but the angels who once came back from the original heaven to create private heaven's cosmos. They did not succeed. There was a lack of energy. But we took part in it, because every human being was once an angel. When we regain the delight of love and the beauty of humility, we will return to the eternal fairy tale we have been constantly dreaming of and shedding tears for since birth. 586. It is not the visual world that is our big problem, but looking at it and understanding it, why it was created so imperfect. Weak that someone who brought it to life. Oi, weak. Poor designers who didn't fully think through their product, letting it go to market as a bubble. However, when we look at the world through a willingness to search, we can understand where evil came from. But evil is not the biggest problem. It is possible to live somehow, if one cares about such a life. Our hopes lie in something else. Unusual sensations of pleasure from the mysterious revelations of the world become the truest goal for us, redirecting us to higher realms of being. All failures, blackness, cleanse the inner, gentle and logical understanding of things. Written eternally love in our soul, sooner or later, will understand what is the cause of the world. And this will become her great joy and achievement. She will learn to direct her thoughts beyond cause and effect. And such thinking is sweetness itself, which frees us from everything, inviting us inside the temporary world into causeless love. 587. We live here and wonder more than once, what is this all about? Why and where does it all come from? The truth, as usual, is trivially simple. And this simplicity is precisely what paralyzes us, does not allow us to understand the meaning and purpose of our so very complicated existence. Precisely because our existence is complicated and difficult, the answer is all the more clear and obvious. But it is known, negative energy does everything to prevent this from being found out. It prefers to create appearances for us, i.e. the beauty of this world, philosophy, science, religions, and effectively dominate us. And the truth is still different. It is necessary to seek it out. The philosopher Jesus suggested, seek and you will find. You will get there, but humility is the basis. 588. If we want to get out of the web of galaxies and escape beyond, to heaven, to see all beauty and be constantly happy, we need to change our thinking, if only for a few minutes during the day. Beauty in this world should draw us to see and touch higher beauty. Beauty should be our hope for the future. Then we will understand that life is worth living, and that there is something to toil for in this world. This world is elementary school. Matriculation is far away. And university, it's already a game of higher consciousness. But we will embrace it. 589. Involuntary material incentives of different nature appear in our lives. They are worth considering, and even use them for even more purposeful lightning bolts of sensation. Each stimulus is designed to get us to our destination. As we shake up the brain, it becomes overgrown with stimuli, and ones we have never known before. Stimuli are our hope. First we have to go through the material world, and only then further. And in the meantime, we can sample the divine world to nibble a little enlightenment and heavenly pleasure. 590. Our psychology of thinking is often non-progressive and wasteful. A person twisted by virtually nothing harms himself tremendously. It is necessary to struggle to think more deeply than usual, and not to put the mind into idle gear. Education or lack thereof does not exempt us from thinking. Paperwork its way, and the element of life is the most important process of our spiritual growth. The element of knowledge determines happiness and peace. It may be strange, but it is so. The more you know, the more you have experienced the various scenes of life, the greater the peace, because we become wiser internally. Wisdom is calmness and composure. It is gentleness and overheartedness. Peculiar fashion, indestructibility of happiness is practiced by those who are a reflection of the end of material universe. The ties that bind the lights of matter come into play, and the mind becomes convinced of the principles behind the beauty of real life. Contacts of the sensual world take up the limitation, and those who have been deprived of faith fade into the mystery of carnality. Their eyes grow tired, and the king's hearing cools. Severely indiscreet lunatics in casual impulses want to lose their honor, which is anyway defined in wrong decisions. And where is the throne of matching smiles of happiness? Where is the beloved love? 591. Only those who are sensitive, spiritual, searching for the purpose and meaning of life on their own, including artists in large part, are able to escape from such structures as the bondage of democracy, power at all costs, the imposition of ways of thinking. Only those are able to escape spirituality from control and maintain independence, freedom at all levels of the density of their personality. Although this is not always possible. 592. Power thread. The church, the Bible, and the state, the ideologies, are two institutions that want to have full control over the reactions of our minds, and they have. To this end, the church imposes artificial, completely unlivable morals, beliefs, and prohibitions, while the state wants to make its citizens dependent on money, on material goods, mortgages, and various kinds of credit. The state is doing its best to make the instinct for freedom, artistry, pleasure of body and spirit completely disappear in man. The state as well as the church in its present form promote with great force the system of earning and the system of non-thinking, non-reacting, brainlessness. On both sides, plenty of prohibitions and regulations. The systems want to steal people's time at all costs, handcuff them with long work, confuse them with views, exclude personal and independent development. They have a hidden interest in this, of course. It is to make the system last and make huge profits. Heaven wants something completely different for us. This must be discovered. 593. For civilization, the failure to find the good angel within ends in corruption and economic crimes. This is caused by the fact that we only float on a mental platform and are certainly captivated by blinding material energy. If we sincerely seek, acquiring knowledge class by class, we will become wiser and better equipped with material knowledge. Then our inner angel will reveal itself in us as smiling, fairness, honesty, gentleness, and friendship with everyone. Ministers' angels will then not be able to indulge in corruption. The whole nation will benefit. 594. God, how do you deal with so many beautiful worlds, illuminations of the souls of men and women, angels? Doesn't it all get mixed up in your head? I'm curious, because it does to me. Don't be angry with me for asking this. It's all from the imperfection of my. 595. Without spiritual desires, material desires alone are not enough to understand ourselves and life in general. We must acquire for ourselves the beautiful qualities of the angels. But remember, angels are not bland sexless. On the contrary, the game of love must continue on all material and spiritual planes equally, because this is the only meaning of life. Even when we are without a partner or lonely, rejected by others, it does not mean that it has to be like this. The planet of unrest has its own absolute laws, but we must resist them so that we are not devoured by these laws to the very bone. Let us never trust the energy of the cosmos. It is, however, the depths, and no heaven can be seen in them. Hope must be directed quite in the opposite direction. We are delighted with the earth. In fact, there is nothing to get excited about. Heaven is much more beautiful. Just like a calm and colorful flower is much more stable than our frustrations and nerves. Is everything in play here? That's the question. 596. Science in itself is not bad, on the contrary, but used badly, without regard for others, it brings a lot of harm. Intellectual and scientific elites should change their worldview a bit and see the human being in all this. Modernity should be approached as a sensitive emotion that can be easily hurt. We must transform and modernize, first of all, our way of thinking. You cannot create modernity without the spirit of love. If we do this, we will see what has already happened. Further devastation of the environment, dying forests, poisoned springs and rivers, air unfit to breathe. And, for all these reasons, plaguing diseases that include man and animals. At the moment, science is on a track different from creative mysticism. Is this the way it should be? God sees differently, wants differently, demands differently from people. Science should not interfere with simple logic and ordinary folk wisdom. Water, air, and food are very poisoned. Padre Pio's words. 597. Love is really first of all seeing, and seeing is feeling something very tactile, and therefore shapes. And as we know, shapes need to be seen to be known, to be felt and surrounded by a mist of delight. The soul is seeing. I don't see it any other way. Therefore, also among blind people there is a great longing to be able to see and enjoy colors, forms, etc. Even Jesus noticed this. He was extremely astute in observing his life. He stated after all his reflections that the light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is healthy, your whole body will be in the light. So what? I've wondered about that more than once too. It would seem trivial, but no, he is right. The soul can see. Otherwise it would have nothing to live for. Love, like a painting, must be seen and admired by someone. It is impossible to exist for emptiness. Emptiness means that the soul is not there. Love and soul are one and the same. Jesus deduced that since the body must see in order to fully enjoy, so must the soul. The conclusion goes like this: love, soul, seeing, these are one and the same. There is no soul without seeing, no love without soul, and no seeing without love shapes. Everything works perfectly together. This is the great richness of life, to be able to feel, see, and love everything. We feel with images and love with shapes. And it seems to me that there is no turning back from this. Just as in the physical world, we have to touch to feel the world. The same is true in the non-material soul, feeling and seeing much, much more broadly and bluntly than here with us. Heaven must be seen, Padre Pio's words. All my deductions, reflections, philosophies stem from conversations with Padre Pio. I had thousands of these conversations. There was a period when Padre Pio talked to me every day. He told me to write, promised me help. He was not the only one. 598. Spiritualities are secret and extremely impressive games between different personalities of love. This is what is called spirituality of the truest, purest substance. And it applies to life on earth, but especially in the hereafter. Spirituality is love. Can there be spirituality without love? It can't. Even prayer is not pure if it does not refer to selfless love. 599. We are told that the senses have nothing to do with freedom, that they should be extinguished, silenced. Churches and religious organizations especially do this reproach. Manipulators know this well, that to silence the sensory reactions is to easily control their consciousness. Restricted senses mean no access to free health energy release reactions. In contrast, for marketing traps, the senses are a business miracle. The proof lies in every advertisement. Advertising works primarily on our sensory perceptions. Marketing is all about the senses. They know full well that by acting on our senses, they will reach easily through their stimuli and reactions to our willingness, will, consciousness. Spiritualists and businessmen do the same. And yet, it would be more beautiful to appreciate the magnificent soul, which, yes, now needs a little cosmic body. The soul must be given a chance to choose freely, so that it can live an interesting life on this earth. It must not be inhibited by prohibitions and manipulations. Then we lose out on goodness and freedom. We lose out on creating a friendly civilization. 600. In the physical life of souls, good nutrition is very important. Hence, only drugs that destroy health. Advertisements for drugs prove that everyone is already incurably ill and should take pills. What should be promoted is good food, organic without chemicals, which will prevent diseases. Everything today is put upside down. In ancient China, if the guiding caregiver, the family doctor, allowed a patient to get sick, he had to pay him for not keeping him healthy. An ancient rule said, "Let food become your medicine." Proper nutrition is the absence of depression, neurosis. It is a willingness to love and search your soul. In a healthy body, a healthy spirit. Make your body light, perfect your mind. A healthy lifestyle should be promoted. Sports, swimming, relaxation, work in allotments, ecological circles and clubs for active plant protection. Afforestation and animal protection. When the body is not weakened by pills, it feels like working and enjoying life. And in order to consume drugs as little as possible, prevention is advisable. Good nutrition. First of all, consume sugars as little as possible. It is not for nothing that it is said that sugar is white death, Padre Pio's words. And it is true. Margarine is not allowed, absolutely. Only butter, etc. When we eat well, the immune system is very strong and can handle almost any potential disease. Eggs are the basis for not getting sick and going to the doctors. 601. There are some citizens in the nation who think that supervising people through science can reduce problems and suffering. Today, no one believes in these fairy tales. A civilization devoid of love and faith in the Creator Parents is producing new diseases and divisions in the world. Some diseases have been avoided, but 100 new ones have been created in their place. Science, with its potential for danger it brings, has sent more people to the other world than all the wars in the world. Chemistry has poisoned the environment. Nuclear testing has done its job. Everyone knows about Freon, space conquests, rockets are tearing apart the ozone, Padre Pio's words. Ozone holes are not due to primitive people, but to politics and scientific experiments, a gift of modern patents. Isn't this the truth? Let's not try to blame these facts on ants or storks or fish in the sea. It is necessary to think about it. Convince politicians, scientists that this is not the best way. Is it possible to find your love of life through science? Or know God? You can't. So let's keep our eyes open. And let's not give in so easily to the mechanisms of poisoning the soul. A consciousness that desires nothing else but pleasure, truth, justice, and peace. 602. I know, God, that you always approach me intelligently, but I never know when you will excite my heart and when you will give me the proverbial leg up. And so you always win the game with me. So I am calm and patient indefinitely, infinitely. I love you infinitely and selflessly, so I often fixate and freak out to understand you under my requirements. I apologize to you for my infantility, intellectual and spiritual limitation. 603. The soul is indestructible, but it can be scratched, and it happened. That's why we are here. Padre Pio told me that the soul has a blemish. It happened at the beginning of her journey, when she was going into the project of a cosmos independent of heaven. Then, when she exulted in her freedom and pride before her Creator, and who made himself felt to no one as the Creator of souls, so as not to alienate anyone with his power. All the wisdom of life now is to disenchant ourselves and return to the original love. Until we do this and become love itself again, we will continue to use tanks for existence in this cosmos with others. Salvation, liberation, nirvana is about one thing: becoming love itself. And this is what Padre Pio taught me for 35 years, to this day anyway. Other ways are false. Nothing else matters, neither monasteries, nor rules, nor holy communions, nor cassocks, nor wedding creations, ugly or beautiful body. It is necessary to become love itself. Then everyone will return to original happiness, without having to incarnate millions of times on different planets. And it remains to be seen whether incarnation will help or harm. 90% of our lives have been wasted, lost. Padre Pio told me that on earth, too, almost no one goes to heaven after death, because he has not yet become love itself for everyone. End of the period, that's the truth. Going to India, looking for a unique guru or interesting clergyman in Christianity, will not help anyone. This needs to be understood. The biggest driving force is in us. Everything depends on us, but it is necessary to know something about it in order not to be manipulated by religions, atheism, parties, sociobiology, etc. 604. Fable. Somewhere far away in the cosmos, there is an islet where night never falls. The islet is so lovely that night would be no match for it. It is awash in beautiful greenery, fragrant flowers, rich wharves and sandy beaches, swept by the gentle waves of the blue sea. Residents of the charming island do not need sleep, do not need to eat, and therefore work is not necessary for them. They know no duties. The islet loves its residents and gives them everything they desire. So they live without restrictions. They delight in landscapes, sunrises and incomplete orange sunsets. They spend their time playing and philosophizing about life. Well, yes, a small oversight. The only food they constantly indulge in is romantic love. The islet loves it and does everything to make sure love always flourishes. The inhabitants of Earth also have such a wonderful islet. Only, which fairy tale is she in? Hero in the dark, immeasurable periods of investigative banners have drawn up. The disciplined fantasies of undereducated frighteningly fascinate. And it gradually passes religion into buried authenticity. We recognize ourselves in nothingness and plunge our senses into the mystique of disbelief. At the root of totalitarian hopes, we expect a petulant silence, and love for science kills us with the bayonet of suggestion. We think we're alive when we doubted long ago. An empty gun. Will I find the strength to shoot into the void? A foreigner of disbelief I am, and a hero in the darkness. But it will end. Hope will bloom yet. 605. Gaining knowledge about how love should radiate is a very important matter. Knowledge constantly regulates our attitudes toward ourselves and those around us. The greater the knowledge of love, the greater the perfection, the greater the goodness and harmony. The more you know in this area, the greater you are. Padre Pio's words. That is, you love more widely. Such knowledge should be sought everywhere. In books, in conversation, in art, in film, in nature, in the cosmos, on the spiritual discovery of consciousness. It is impossible to escape from love, as it is the basis of our existence. Every good thought, every sympathetic conversation, every hug, that's love. Nothing else. The desire for progress of any kind is love. Love wants everywhere and everyone to be well, for happiness to be at hand. Even in such difficult conditions as life on our planet, Kolkhoz Earth. 606. Pride has gigantic dimensions and incredible powers of destruction. The opposite of pride is gentle and forgiving, patient love. Love never allows itself to be provoked into aggression and inappropriate acts. This is what it consists of. In addition to patience, if properly handled, love ignites in the soul the pleasures themselves. Love is still little appreciated, little loved. 607. We can talk to each other about the truth and life for months. In the end, the statement will still be made. One does not know the complete truth, and problems still remain. Although we don't know how we would try, the whole truth cannot be known. If we don't accept our parents, God as the source of all material and spiritual life, we will waste time guessing. The search for truth outside of love will yield no results. We will write volumes of books and it will not help. The source is anchored in the thinking heart. However, the possibility of freedom of thought can interfere with the reception of the source. And this is most often the case. The truth is knowable, but it is necessary to use some openness and humility to do so. In the face of mysteries, one cannot stand on own perch. What will that do? A little respect for God and humility towards oneself. 608. From contact with people, love and friendship, community well-being and social harmony are born. Because contact with people is contact with the soul. This is the way to look at it. It doesn't matter that someone is unpleasant. He is like that because he has not yet recognized the pleasant love of his soul. He only uses logic. The soul is not logical. She sees everything in beautiful colors, and it makes her happy. And joy is what it's all about after all. That's why souls, which have already recognized themselves with reason, are very tolerant, open-minded, crazy about doing good. They are soft as butter, and they are easily deceived. But for such a soul, it's no problem. She trusts good, even when she is deceived, but the distance appropriate has to herself and to everything, because she feels where she lives, in what kind of cosmic kolkhoz we once arranged for ourselves. A wise soul realizes this. He can turn a blind eye to many things. 609. You love truly because you have freed yourself from the addictions of the truths and mystique of others. You can only trust a good heart that does not seek only itself, but sees the concerns and needs of others. Truth is for everyone, just like love. We will know everything and love everyone. We just need to take time for the powers to balance. 610. If we manage to notice in ourselves inappropriate concepts and thoughts that lead nowhere, such as to anxiety, we should wonder what the path to full joy and satisfaction is. She probably is. It is necessary to look for it, even so casually. Then see what is better and more beneficial for me. Certainly it is necessary to be guided by freedom for every choice, even if it were a choice of evil. But also evil can be possessed by free good. Anything can be done. Thought and heart are power. 611. Earth science is only in its infancy. Besides, what's the use of science and money to anyone if he can suffer misfortune at any time and be physically eliminated from the game? Science and the spiritual heart, however, are two completely different spheres of existence. To produce science, it is necessary to use consciousness. Without the center of consciousness, there is nothing. At the moment, we are dependent on a weak material body and on human knowledge. And with these aspects, the soul must struggle for the time being and actually find itself with such flimsy tools. But it is worth digging. It is worth drilling a hole in the material particles, a hole, and to see through it at least the wonders of the fullness of life that we expect as a self-conscious individual. 612. I dwell on all things, but I remember that the basis of great happiness is still in front of me. I wait. The world is mastered by thought. No one knows its essence of operation. We create civilization, culture, various goods, computers, skyscrapers, etc. And this is done by consciousness about which no one knows anything. An interesting and mysterious issue is this consciousness of ours. An unusual planet. Maybe it's worth landing on it and looking around a bit, probably there are sunny beaches without fees. And great games. 6:13. Knowledge of the soul flows through knowledge of the warmth of love. Philosophizing only muddles the mind and is of no use. The heart does not need philosophy, but a relationship with love, however we understand it. Serenity, bliss, peace, and attractive attire of love make us happy. Philosophy is good for the human mind, which does not know love, so it produces various concepts, ideologies to satisfy its ignorance. Ego doesn't like intellectual emptiness, so it invents something for itself, even sick power, liberal dictate, sectarianism, and cruel wars. 6:14. You cannot create a profession out of spirituality. The soul is not a laborer. The soul is an explorer of beauty and happiness. Love is not a profession, but the very essence of life. Nevertheless, in order to do good that brings me closer to love, good habits are useful. There is nothing inappropriate when we learn good habits. Culture always pays off in everything. With culture we enter the range of love. 6:15. I will get life true then, when I begin to struggle with my own death. When I pierce the bottom of despair with hope, I will come out of the other side joyful. Everyone is convinced that this will happen, because no one wants to die forever. Non-being and emptiness, after all, do not exist. It is not possible for them to exist. Only theoretically, if even a theory tries to define it, it already denies it at this point. Someone who derives formulas about emptiness with thoughts fills it. Therefore, what we dream, we achieve, but not emptiness and not existence, because they are devoid of the pleasures of life. The world is the material of making joy and pleasure. This pattern, although imperfect, can still be improved in oneself and then achieve eternity. Jesus talked about this all the time. 6:16. I'm breathing because impure intelligence has condemned me to oxygen. How to overcome oxygen? By changing the intelligence to a wiser one, open to spiritual benefits. But this is the future. The material cosmos is a consciousness out of touch with selflessness. Even nature will not let go. It is ruthless, though so beautiful on the outside. Gravity will always pull deep into the earth. And no matter how many beautiful words I say to her, she will not change her mind. When you ask nature for anything, she can never fulfill it. It will not listen to you. Nature can only be defeated by a miracle. It can't be done otherwise. But the more pure wisdom and intelligence in nature, the friendlier it is. For example, our body, it's such a donkey, which always needs to be pushed forward by will. We have to endure it all. Someday, thanks to love, this will change. But in the cosmos, never. Because the cosmos is not the work of God, but of His children, who created it as an alternative heaven devoid of God. Draconian laws rule here, set up by alien, fallen angel civilizations. Love overcomes them, but everyone himself must strive to recover petal by petal his soul, wounded centuries ago. 6:17. I have never been indifferent to what happened in the past and what is happening now. Like everyone else, I fought for freedom and justice. Angels Zomo also shot at me with their bullets, but somehow the bullets missed me. That's why I can still write my thoughts. 6:18. The clash of cultures of different views, religious systems to the exclusion of tolerance and love above all, always ends in something dangerous. The destruction of everything. This should be avoided. Slowly learn the system of goodness and love beyond views. For love is one and the same for all. It leads to respect, freedom, peace, coexistence. Without talking about what love is, we will not avoid conflicts. Positive education will do its job in time. Dry law is always resisted. No one likes such a law. It will eventually begin to fight for freedom. And fighting has nothing to do with freedom, because in this way freedom is taken away from others. That is why it is so important to teach love, and the rest will accomplish itself in our minds, which will result in wisdom, tolerance, and friendship between people and nations. Love is forgiveness and brotherhood in every dimension. 6:19. Failure to integrate hearts around the creation of goodwill is another war, another economic, religious upheaval. The system of life must be based on universal love, led by the true monarch, gentle heart. Only the heart will show the wise way to coexistence of all with all, because it teaches tolerance and non-conversion of each other in the religious and political spheres. Political dictatorship, religious dictatorship, but also private beliefs, cannot be a reason to start destructive actions. The heart excludes this. We can only convince ourselves of the one most wonderful value that gives pleasure and peace, that is love. When one lives with love in own heart, then one can do whatever one wants. And love already knows what it desires. 6:20. Today I am hot, tomorrow I am cold. And this is because my soul does not see the exact perspective. The horizons of expectation and hope are constantly slipping away. The soul in the world is almost blind. It can't cope with life, and yet it doesn't want to. And the fact that it does not reconcile to stagnation is its great glory. Already from this, it can have great consolations. 6:21. God, how you sweetly deceive me. I go to sleep and sleep, and yet the soul does not sleep. And what is it supposed to do then? I don't even know what I am doing in my sleep. Or maybe during sleep my angel, partner, guardian, cleanses my soul from the dirt I caught during the day. Something seems to me that this is the case. 6:22. Instead of being a dealer of drugs and legal highs, try becoming a dealer of selfless love. You will gain more from it. Departures from drugs have no equivalent in the divine romance of love. For the ecstasy of love is much higher. It is better to become addicted to love than to anything else. Love is not threatening in any way. It does not destroy health. On the contrary. 6:23. Excellence is a force independent of laws, statuses, and political systems. Independent of belief in hypocritical systems. Independent of the command to do manipulated good. Therefore, one can become an independent man in any system prevailing on earth. It is easier to achieve this in a team, where the laws of true love rule. Goodness, love, this is no politics, no belonging to any organization, or even to parish communities. It is not a matter of profession, regulations, vows, etc. A good heart is something else, a different world, which we get to know from within. If there are people with different orientations, and when they care about peace, balance, and happiness in life, the only orientation must be love. No knowledge or ideological views can even come close to it. 6:24. If you trust your loving heart which surpasses the capabilities of yourself, then don't let anything from the outside go crazy. Discern the time and set yourself up for life accordingly, so that you don't waste the opportunity for spiritual development. Let yourself be guided by the good in all circumstances of life, and don't complain that you are constantly missing something. You have life. This is your first gift, which you will never lack. Just know how to use it. And you will do it when you focus on your Creator of good, to be also for others as for yourself. The eternal blemish on the soul does us a lot of trouble in the process. In spite of the struggle with yourself, however, you can somehow grow spiritually. Anything that transforms consciousness in this reality into spiritual images anchored in hope and faith counts. 6:25. Life will become relatively light if we treat it lightly and in advance. Life cannot be allowed to destroy us. Life itself in this failed cosmos tends to dominate us. This must be resisted in order to extract knowledge and peace from the camouflaged life. 6:26. A civilization that goes in the direction of creating material wealth and humanism without love creates all-round conditions for being incapable of loving own neighbor throughout. There is more makeup in our consumer civilization than living beauty and compassion. We risk so much, but it can be changed. Let's not look down on politicians, scientists, doctors, artists, even mystics. Let's do good and love ourselves, and peace and happiness will slowly return to the living rooms. Heart, the essence of life, heart of the spirit, image, heart, spark, divine heart of angels, apartment, heart, radiates affection, heart longs and sighs, heart burns. With love, heart, divine fragrance, inhales, heart of kindness, bestows, heart, soothes wounds, heart of others to be greater, heart, not afraid of death, heart, forgives everyone. Heart of kindness, heart, empties itself, heart loves without exception, heart joyful, peaceful heart that reaches out to God, heart agreeable and affectionate heart on people. Does not swear, heart of heavenly beings, momentousness, heart of all living, freedom, heart that brings light, heart pulsating with love, heart sense of delight. 6:27. I believe that it is only the enchanting simplicity of the moment, like a delightful song, that puts our soul in the field of superconsciousness. A forced view of reality somewhat flattens the picture of that moment. To understand the simplicity of superconsciousness, it takes a search for meaning in all directions of reality, but ending in humility, the personal experience of the being who has allowed us to be. To be, however, means a lot, and this is where the cosmic odyssey begins. The complexity of things, however, will slowly retreat, eventually bringing the understanding of beauty in its greatest essence of lightness, in the purest simplicity of feeling. Mysticism has it so. There is no lightness. Simplicity, the greatest treasure in ourselves, must be sought. And when it is found, hide it deep in the heart, because from it is born trust in God and the pleasure of life. 6:28. Goodness and love are the general principle of the heavenly worlds. On earth, goodness and love happen rather than for them to be here permanently. Some don't want to, others can't, and still others are not educated to do good and love. Padre Pio's words. If someone breaks the rules of this beauty, anti-culture, sadness, grief, resentment, tears are born. For billions of years now, this is what we are learning. Eventually we will learn, and we will reach heaven. 6:29. Every thought is ultimately aimed at happiness. Actually, we have happiness inside. The thought circles around it until it causes a discharge in the soul. It is important that the thought is able to sit down like a bird to this nest of delight. What we see, what we hear, cool melodies, etc. pleases inside in the heart. Every touch of the soul pleases. Do you have a weak mood? You watch an interesting movie or listen to songs, go for a recreational walk, and already on the soul lighter. The sky of pleasure and contentment can be induced by yourself using various methods. The important thing is invention, willingness, thought, and imagination, which we always have with us. Mysticism lifts our pleasures higher and higher. 6:30. An individual needs the happiness of another individual, otherwise it will shatter like a star in the sky. 6:31. The achievements of intelligence contribute in a straight line to further development and expansion of consciousness. This is the truest perpetual motion machine, the creation of which is freedom and the desire for more and more, until the infinity of love. Looking out from your window, you look up at a sky covered in a mosaic of abstractions. Heaven's happy hours came out, and I believed in God. Formerly pained eyes looked out for you in good times and bad. In the moment of sunrise and sunset, I believed that everything could come true. So the sky stooped low, very low. Rain with snow was pounding against the windows in pain. This true shape appeared in the hour of destiny. The sky was unveiled and beauty entered the world that I had come to know. Gabriel smiled, captivated by the plan. He rolled out his love and blessed. The slopes have turned silver. A bird's voice chirped a joyful dawn. He chirped that it was necessary to go. So grows an orchard of happiness carved with good thought among the stars. An orchard grows which takes in the same trees to grow again what is intended. 632. It is difficult for a person to live without freedom, and just as difficult to live without information. Knowledge, information are altogether the resultant of freedom, this interlocking very closely. Modern man has achieved a great deal. He has illuminated his way, searching for the meaning of life, constantly developing his skills. He has almost become the sun himself. Once this was not possible, as history has shown us. Although in distant prehistory, it was different. The leap is immeasurable, especially in the last 100 years. It can be said that the epochal leap now occurs every 20 years. Padre Pio's words. Man has made great leaps in technology, discovery, design, law, pharmacology, developed democracy, strengthened freedom, and looked at the world from an even different angle than before. All this is a triumph of reason and sanity, a triumph, as it were, of the spirit. But problems remain. Something is still missing for it to be divine. We'll get to this information slowly. If we don't wreck the planet sooner. 633. What could be the most important thing in human life on Earth? It seems that in addition to the comfort of life, pleasure, joy, and countless forms of love, it seems that freedom and access to information, access to knowledge of research and experiments carried out in various fields of life is probably important. Information brings contentment to a person. Information brings development, readiness to open up to the spirit. But sometimes knowledge reinforced by hubris causes the collapse of civilization. There have already been on this earth higher civilizations than ours. Padre Pio's words. And what, not even a trace of them remained. The earth ground everything. There were civilizations even before the dinosaurs and next to them. Then there was something too. And there is still something. 634. The shallowness of experiencing, of arriving at the truth, has created a consumerist consciousness, without elements of sensitivity to warm, devoted love, which has resulted, on a scale of hundreds of thousands of years, in the loss of the ability to regenerate cells. In the past, people lived much longer, 800, 1,000, or even many more years each. Padre Pio confirmed this. In heavenly civilizations where love is the highest idea of existence, bodies have timeless, indestructible, eternal. Jesus talked about this. After his transfiguration on Mount Tabor, he showed his true body. We too have one, but for the time being we have to struggle with our own mechanical genetics, which is very troublesome in life and sense of self. We will pass to heaven, we will regain our original bodies. It is worth waiting and praying for. 635. Unification with love already escapes philosophy. It is something else. At the higher degrees of opening the soul, knowledge is not the essence in inner cognition and experiencing joy. It is not needed at all, because existence is not based on knowledge.